Britain's great petrol station getaway. Welcome to Mark and Pete. Now, petrol is so expensive that some motorists have discovered an ingenious discount scheme. Not paying. Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
If you hear a thump at the petrol pump, it's the sound of cars fueling all day, until you see them jump over the speed bump as they drive off and never pay. Well, oh dear. Yes, UK drivers have recently stolen almost £200,000 of fuel from petrol stations across the country. This is a result of the hiked in prices since the Iran war broke out. Now, Mr. Pete, I would say that there is a really big trend that seems to be happening, and I can see that as forecourts throughout the country witness this. One thing to note is this, that it might seem that the big petrol station manufacturers or the companies, the oil companies, can afford this, but individual petrol stations, that's the forecourt owners, their margins are really, really tight. So every time that somebody disappears without paying, it's a big blow to their own individual pockets. So what say you about this trend, and what does it say about the British driver?
Well, the thing is, I often, as regular listeners will know, will quote a Bible verse to try and tease out something about the story we're covering. In this case, I think I've got an exact, rather subtle, but this is what it says. Thou shalt not steal. I think that rather sums it up, isn't it? Exodus 20, verse 15, one of the Ten Commandments. You're not allowed to steal things, folks. And one of the things about this, about the way that you purchase petrol at a petrol station is rather easy to steal. Not that, I hasten to add, Mr. Mark, that I've ever done this, of course. Being an epitome of
an honourable citizen,
of integrity, and an honourable citizen, as you say. Thank you for putting that out. Yes, but you've got to actually go from your car into the petrol station to pay. Well, you could pay at the pump, but if you usually you have a choice. I mean, say places like Tesco, if you go in the middle of the night, you don't have a choice, but in the day you do. So you could choose to just not go into the shop and drive off, and that therein hangs a tale. You know, you've got the opportunity. The opportunity is there, but with the huge price hikes we've had recently, I guess the temptation to try and avoid that is just too much.
Yes.
So we've got to come back to it's just going to this. You're not allowed to steal. It's wrong. What can I tell you?
Well, I think you've summed it up, obviously, with your extract there from the Bible.
Yes,
but the point here is, I'm going to go to the governance body, Forecourt I, yes, EYE. They have said that the value of stolen fuel being estimated at nearly £200,000 has risen basically by 48% compared with 5 months ago before the war. Now, you can see that obviously that when one incident occurs in one part of the world, the consequence that it has on others. What's also interesting is that the figures are based on a representative sample of 550 forecourts throughout the country. This is the United Kingdom. And it's incredible that the number of incidents recorded at the forecourts in those sort of sample equates to approximately 2,872 daily incidents. So it's rife. This isn't just like a one-off incident. And I don't think it's just you in your car merrily going around the country. It seems like that the citizens have suddenly said, I've had enough of paying for this. Now, there is a solution to this. Now, if anybody who is a traveller on foreign fields, you will note that in France and in other parts of the world, you have to put in your debit card before you even push the pump, meaning that you can't get away with not paying. Essentially, you're effectively paying up front. You're opening up your direct debit card. And what that means is that whether you decide to drive away or not, you will still pay. Now, what I'm surprised about is why that hasn't happened in the United Kingdom. Yes, you can push the button to decide whether you want to pay with your direct debit card or at the kiosk, but that's after you've put the petrol in your tank.
Yes. No, I think if they were thinking this through, you could do the same with cash, right? So if someone insists on cash,
Yeah.
Yeah, pay me in advance. A bit more, pay me in advance. You'd have a set amount for the card. I think it's £120. It doesn't have to be as much. It could be slightly, whatever. Someone has to give you some money to cover it in advance, or some sort of guarantee, so that you're not losing all the petrol if they drive off. And I think that would make a difference. But normally people pay with cards anyway. Majority of people do. So putting your card into the machine and having it register your card, then if you drive off, you've lost 120 quid. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
so that's a way of solving it, isn't it? A way of solving it. I mean, I think it is. Looking at the data, it does look like it is due to people just cut the recent increase in these thefts is because people can't afford it. In that, the most increase in drive offs, as we might call them, are in southeast London, Glasgow, Manchester, Leeds, and Birmingham.
Yes.
I mean, there was a certain there's been a certain demographic shift in those areas as well. But one thing, I think, the thing that ties them all together is that people are struggling with the cost of living in those areas. So, uh,
Correct.
yeah, but we can't take their side against businesses as we want, but we take both aside. We have to have people who are honest. The petrol costs a certain amount. It costs the franchise owner for the petrol station forecourt so much
Yes.
uh, to run their business, but you've got to pay, folks. You've got to pay.
Well,
And so
what's
I think that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, the price of petrol will get higher for people who are going to pay. The
well,
honest
there is
people who are
that.
honest. Yeah.
In March of 2026, basically, if you look at, say, for example, unleaded petrol, it was around £1.35. Today, it's going to £1.61, 62. It's that kind of fee. For diesel, back in March, it is £1. It was £1.40. Now today, which we're talking in August of 2026, it's gone to £1.80 and rising. So the point is, we can all see the impact at the petrol pump and to our pockets. But what's probably significant is certain owners of these forecourts have basically said that, irrespective of how much CCTV and security procedures they put in place, the comment is that people don't care and they are prepared to take that risk. So I think that really what we're seeing here is a brazen approach to something which really is having impact all around the economy, isn't it, Mr. Pete? That the British Retail Consortium, which sort of looks at and assesses these sort of things, has recognised that, of course, people are now is reaching that point where people are prepared to do anything to meet their own personal needs, but not necessarily think about the consequences.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the issue here, isn't it?
it gets to that point. I mean, when economies get worse and worse, then there's a breakdown in trust because people are driven to stealing. And once there's that breakdown in trust, it changes the whole way that society operates. And when we look at other countries and things, thank goodness Britain isn't like that. Well, if we were poor enough, maybe we would be like that if the economy really does tank. Um, to that extent, we're going to be suffering from a breakdown in cohesion in society. And like in, let's take an example, South Africa, you're going to have to start carrying guns with you, even if they're
Mm.
illegal, to protect yourself. We don't want to get to that stage. So we need the economy to improve. How could it improve? Well, there's plenty of other episodes of Mark and Pete where we discuss that in some detail. But one of the keys is getting cheaper fuel.
Yes. Well, look, listeners, what do you think? Have you been in a situation where you've driven up to the petrol pump and seen somebody drive off? Maybe, possibly, you are somebody who is guilty. But either way, listeners, what I would say is this: bear in mind what Mr. Pete has said. Yes, you're breaking one of the key 10 commandments. And
Yes.
ultimately, whatever you think about it, if you do this, you'll be just simply fueling crime.